Okay, hello. So this is the first part of this workshop. So actually this is the first time I do online workshop like this. So I didn't have that much time for preparations. It's a yellow one. We're gonna see how it works, and later I'm gonna make some improvements. Okay. It's all about, I mean, from my perspective, I created this streaming this workshop because I just wanted to learn how Istio works. And from my perspective, the best way to learn something is by practice. And it's like currently I have couple of Kubernetes clusters that I work on daily basis. And basically I would like to make sure that I know how to operate Istio. And from what I already learned watching some YouTube videos, Istio can solve a couple of my problems that applications have. I mean, I don't have to implement some of features that Istio gives me. So, okay, so let's maybe jump directly to the subject. So how it's gonna work? I would like to go step by step and take all the time we need, meaning there is no rush here. I mean, if it takes a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe or rather month, then it's fine, it's okay. I mean, I would rather know how it exactly works and what kind of problems it can bring to the table, than rush and skip some subjects. Basically, I created some suggestions about next chapters, and we're gonna try to go through each of those. Each chapter I will try to record a video about each chapter, and also I will give you some homework to do after each chapter, and some materials to be read, something interesting and something that I already read and I think it's good. So this is basically the high-level plan. Let's maybe go through those chapters, and I'm gonna explain you why exactly that number of chapters and this kind of knowledge. The first one, the application architecture. So basically, if you want to learn Istio, which is something that sits between your application and the Kubernetes and an infrastructure, then I think the best way would be to deploy an application and practice with it. However, I've seen that there are a couple of workshops online about Istio, and they all, those all workshops basically works on some already prepared applications by someone. And I'm afraid that if we don't understand exactly how applications work, or maybe we don't cover some interesting scenarios of how my applications interact with some other services, then we might skip something. So the first chapter will be about creating an architecture of application. We're gonna try to work out something. I mean, probably each of you will create something that fits his or her requirements. So yeah, this is gonna be the first chapter, and I think it's gonna be also about implementation of those applications. So it's gonna be a longer one, and maybe I'm gonna split it into two. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a good idea. The next chapter will be about actual deploying this application in Kubernetes. So basically we're gonna create some Helm charts for those applications, actually for those services. Let's split this application into services. I wouldn't call it microservices because it's not gonna be like 30 of them. I'll think about 5 components maybe. However, and for each of those we're gonna some Helm chart, but I would like you also to learn the Helm file, which is a wrapper for Helm chart. And why is that? Simply because it's much easier to operate a couple of charts or multiple of charts with some tiny wrapper that does all the things for you. I mean, deployments of all those charts. A Helm file is something like for Terraform we've got TerraGrant. It's something like that, but okay, maybe let's skip that because probably not all of you knows Terraform and especially TerraGrant. Yeah, and I'm not gonna work here on any CI or CD, meaning continuous integration and deployment stuff, because I don't want to add here any extra complexity. Let's focus on Istio itself and on those on this application, not on all those things around. So yeah, Helm chart and Helm file. And I think loudly now that if you don't know Helm file, maybe I'm gonna put an to read section into the first chapter, and it's gonna be about Helm file. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because then you will have a time for preparations, reading, or maybe some podcast. Yeah. Okay, the first chapter, let's say that we've got already our application deployed and it works on the Kubernetes cluster. So right here I would like to run some performance tests. Why? Because I would like to establish the baseline for how these our applications behave on this Kubernetes cluster. Yeah. Thanks to that, after the Istio deployment and the configuration, we're gonna be able to run the performance tests, and then we're gonna see what's the performance impact of the Istio itself. Also, we're gonna learn something about running performance tests in such complex environments. So it's gonna be a statistical one, possibly. Yeah. Installing Istio, another chapter. How we're gonna do it? I think that we're gonna use Istio operator provided by, can't remember right now. Yeah, I've seen some. So yeah, we're gonna use it, and we're gonna use also the Helm file for that. It shouldn't be a hard one topic, because using provider makes things easier. Yeah, then we're gonna skip to configuring and installing tracing, and that's gonna be a Jaeger. Tracing means that we're gonna try to inject some tracing libraries into those applications we created, and see this and try to commit some tracing work around those applications. Yeah. Next, we're gonna jump to observability, and it's gonna mean that we're gonna work on Kiali. And Kiali is a very nice tool built on top of Istio, and that connects nicely with Jaeger, meaning with tracing. We're gonna try to see how our applications interoperate between each other or no. What are the status of those, whether there are some problems or not. Yeah. And we are doing those chapters in the very beginning simply because we need to create some monitoring observability tools in order to make sure how later configuration switches changes our environment. So basically, if we spoil something, if we make applications stop working or some connections stop working, then we're gonna see it here. Next, we're gonna skip to the first configuration part, and it's gonna be Istio Gateway, which is the entry point for the Istio. Meaning, if you have an application and you would like outside customer clients actually to connect to it, then he's gonna go through this Istio gateway. And also we're gonna create the SSL and configuration, meaning we're gonna be able to terminate SSL on Istio gateway itself. And this gonna be I'm gonna use the cert manager, meaning it's gonna create SSL certificates for you automatically, and also it's gonna renew your certificates automatically. Yeah. And that's cool. And also those are free certificates, so yeah, I think this is gonna be interesting. Next thing is about Istio routing, split into two chapters because there are some basic traffic splitting things and advanced ones, and it's gonna take some time probably. Also interesting subject I found is about sticky sessions. Sometimes it happens. I mean, I don't like this kind of pattern, but sometimes it just happens that you need to use it. I don't agree that you need. I mean, there are always workarounds, but if you have this kind of scenario, then yeah, we're gonna go through this. So we're gonna see how to configure sticky sessions via Istio itself. Also, another interesting chapter will be about mirroring traffic for any reasons you would like. I mean, the good reason would be to work with some, I mean, to create some live debugging feature, meaning what if you would like to connect to the applications, to the production application, and see how it performs, see what kind of problems, why the problems are happening there, but without impacting the pod, I mean the application's performance. And this is how I mean, there is this feature in Istio called mirroring, and it basically mirrors the traffic from one pod to something another. Fault injection, another interesting chapter, is gonna be about creating endpoints or even replacing some endpoints with let's say errors, error messages or something like this. Thanks to that you can create some interesting testing scenarios. It's gonna be about that. Secret breakers is about, actually this chapter will be about error handling inside of applications. So basically, if you would like to implement retries inside your applications, for instance, when service 1 can't connect to service 2, it tries to retries the connection after some time, or maybe in some other scenario. So instead of implementing that in the application, you can use the Istio feature for that. And I would like to see how it works. On the line of connection between two services, and also how it works between one service and database and queue and maybe external database, and so on and so on. So yeah, we're gonna see. Another interesting feature is JWT. How do you pronounce it in English? JWT in Polish. I know. JWT, something like this. J? Let's say, okay, JWT. Basically, it's about creating authentication layer inside of Istio and signing the requests by Istio, I think, instead of implementing this whole authorization and authentication features in each and every service you've got there. So yeah, it's offloading you as a developer, or they as developers, from the need to implementing the authentication inside of the application. Another interesting chapter will be about mutual TLS, meaning what if you would like to make sure that every connection between those services and some databases is actually encrypted. Yeah, I would like to see how it works and what's the performance impact of that also. So yeah, it's gonna be about that. Egress. Actually, I just copy-pasted this from somewhere. I'm not sure what it's gonna be about. Yeah, I didn't prepare for that yet. Egress meaning the outgoing traffic. Now, whatever. We're gonna see. And yeah, then we're gonna run performance testing. And last but not least, the multi-cluster setup. I've got two Kubernetes clusters in my basement, let's say, and I would like to see what kind of problems Istio brings to the table, or what kind of nice things, I mean, how it helps you managing multi-cluster setup. Not sure what we're gonna find there, we're gonna see. It's gonna be interesting for me because maybe in the future in my work I'm gonna use this kind of setup, so yeah. Okay, so this is all about high-level plan. here are some readings for you. Yeah, it should help you if you don't know what Istio is all about, and yeah, you don't know its internals. So nice readings. Also, there is some reading about Helm chart. Yeah, and this is also about reading a Helm file. So as I said before, I'm gonna put it here, but I already did. So yeah, nice. And for homework, just think whether this plan fits you. Maybe there is something that you would like to see more, and I forgot about this, or I don't know even about that. Or maybe you would like to change something, because for instance observability should be area, or maybe circuit brackets should be area because of some stuff. So that's right, and use GitHub discussions for that. That's gonna be the most perfect way, I think, to communicate between each other. And yeah, last thing. For this workshop, you will need you will need to have a working Kubernetes cluster. And what does it mean? I mean, by working, I think that it's enough that you can run kubectl and see some kind of pods and be able to deploy some pods there and change some configuration. What I'm thinking, if you need to have an administration access there. I think yes, yeah, it's gonna be needed. So Kubernetes cluster with administration access. So basically the Kubernetes cluster that you manage. What kind of cluster? You actually already asked that questions. Where was that? I think here. Yeah, Bartek asked that. So yeah, basically I think, I mean, I don't know what kind of problems are between Istio and different kinds of Kubernetes clusters, to be honest. So, in my opinion, just if you have some specific cluster on your mind, like the CRC or Minikube or something, I would basically Google it. I mean, Google how to deploy Istio on this kind of cluster. Or maybe even not how to, or whether there are any problems. Because from what I saw, there are problems with K3s when you would like to install Kiali on this, so this observability tool. Meaning, you will be able to use K3s, but Kiali might not work. And what it means for you? Well, no, it means that working on some changes in Istio on these applications, you might not see that some connectivity was broken. From this Kiali, you will need to use some other tools for that, yeah, like I don't know, kubectl or something. But kubectl is not a good way to actually monitor your cluster. It should be some observability tools. So yeah. If I would have only K3s, then yeah, go for it. But maybe you have some other possibilities. About resources, yeah, I already wrote about it. There will be a couple of applications, just a couple of applications, so you won't need much resources. You can deploy those applications without any performance limits in Kubernetes, and it's gonna be okay. So, yeah. Even one CPU should be enough. One CPU for application, because not sure about Istio. We're gonna see. Okay, so I think that's all for this chapter. And I'm gonna stop recording in a second because I would like to see how it went. As I told you in the beginning, I have no idea how it went, so I need to see whether I should change something or improve something or not, and then I will be able to go with the second chapter. And second chapter, as I already told you, will be about this application architecture, and I already started creating it. This is gonna be my application architecture. It still needs some changes, but I'm gonna work on those changes with you during next streaming session. But I just wanted to show you that something is already happening here. We're gonna have couple of front-end components, couple of back-end components, couple of databases, and maybe there is also a queue here. Probably I'm gonna replace RabbitMQ with something else, whatever. Yeah, so this is about next chapter, and for now it's everything. So thank you.